What if Count Dooku had been the one to kill Darth Maul? Darth Maul was alive, buried beneath the ashes of his own hatred. He had clawed his way back from death. He had spent years in the darkness, his mind shattered, his body broken. But now, he was whole again. Savage Opress, his brother in blood and war, had found him, dragged him from the pits of insanity. He had given Maul purpose once more. And now, the Sith Lord, once thought lost, had returned to the galaxy. But everything had changed. The Republic still stood. The Jedi still fought. But his master had replaced him. Maul's teeth clenched as he stood before a hologram of Count Dooku. The regal Sith Lord sat upon a throne of darkness, a puppet whose strings were pulled by the same master Maul had once sworn himself to. This man, this pretender, had taken what was his. Darth Tyrannus, the Sith Lord who had stole his rightful place. Savage knelt beside Maul, his golden eyes burning with fury. "We will have vengeance, brother. We will make them all suffer." Maul's breath was steady, but his heart burned with rage. "No," he said, his voice low and cold. "Not them. Not yet. First, we hunt down the one who stole my place. First, we kill Tyrannus." And so, the hunt began. For months, Maul and Savage disappeared into the underworld of the galaxy. They trained in secret, forging themselves into weapons honed for one purpose: the death of Count Dooku. Maul reconstructed his mind as he reconstructed his strength. He meditated upon his hatred, upon the power that had once defined him. He wielded his lightsaber with precision, each strike a whisper of death. Savage was raw power. Maul shaped that power. He pushed his brother to the limits of his endurance, molding him into a true warrior of the dark side. But they would not fight blindly. Maul studied Dooku. Every battle he had fought, every maneuver, every duel, he learned his enemy. And then, they began their campaign. They struck at separatist forces, destroyed outposts, slaughtered Dooku's most trusted commanders. Their names became whispered in fear among the Confederacy. Dooku took notice. From the grand halls of Sereno, the Count listened to the reports. He watched the holovids of Maul cutting down his officers, of Savage leaving only carnage in his wake. He knew what this was. It was a challenge, and Dooku never ignored a challenge. Dooku was no fool. He had seen many warriors rise and fall. He had fought Jedi Masters, dueled with Anakin Skywalker, outmaneuvered Obi-Wan Kenobi. But Maul was different. He was a Sith forged in battle. A weapon, one that had returned stronger than before. Dooku did not underestimate him. He studied Maul as Maul studied him. He watched the footage of Maul's acrobatics, his aggressive form, his reliance on overwhelming offense. And so, Dooku prepared. The Count called upon his droid trainers, programming them to mimic Maul's style, his speed, his ferocity. He spent weeks practicing against them, refining his counters. Sidious himself had once mentioned how young Skywalker had trained in such a manner, perfecting his skills against droid opponents. Dooku would do the same. When the time came, he would not be caught unprepared. He would not fight Maul's battle. He would fight his own. The trap was set. Maul and Savage had tracked Dooku to a secluded separatist compound on the jungle world of Serish Prime. They descended in the dead of night, their presence cloaked in darkness. The halls were eerily silent. No guards, no droids, no resistance. Maul's yellow eyes narrowed. Something was wrong. Then, from the shadows, a voice. "I must commend you." Count Dooku's calm, measured tone echoed through the chamber. "Very few have the nerve to come for me directly. But then again, you were always impulsive." The lights ignited. Maul turned and Dooku was already in motion. Their duel had begun. Dooku's lightsaber crackled to life, its curved hilt twirling with practiced elegance. He did not attack. He waited. Maul struck first, fierce, relentless, brutal. His twin blades lashed out in rapid succession, a whirlwind of red fury. Dooku was calm. He parried, redirected, sidestepped. The Count moved like a spectre, flowing between Maul's strikes with effortless precision. Savage lunged from the side, his strength hammering down upon Dooku like a force of nature. The Count twisted, dodged, then, with a flick of his wrist, lightning. Savage roared as the dark energy coursed through him, throwing him against the wall. Maul snarled. He would not let Dooku dictate the fight. He spun, striking low. Dooku lifted his blade, but it was a feint. Maul deactivated one side of his saber mid-strike, twisting through Dooku's guard. A trap. Dooku's free hand lashed out. A sudden wave of the Force slammed into Maul's ribs, sending him hurtling backwards. The former Sith Lord rolled to his feet, breathing hard. Dooku stood tall, untouched. His expression was unreadable. "You fight with fire and fury," he said, circling them, "but power is nothing without control." Maul's grip tightened on his saber. His rage burned hotter. And so, the battle continued on. Fury against elegance. Strength against precision. Chaos against order. Maul's fury burned like a supernova. He launched himself at Dooku again, striking in a flurry of crimson arcs. Each strike meant to kill. Savage followed suit, swinging his massive saber with bone-shattering force. Dooku did not retreat. The Count sidestepped, a downward strike from Savage, twisting his body with the grace of a master duelist. With a flick of his wrist, his curved blade parried Maul's next attack, sending sparks flying in the dimly lit chamber. Then, in a flash of movement, he struck. Dooku pivoted sharply, his lightsaber carving a thin, precise line through Savage's side. The Zabrak let out a guttural roar of pain as he staggered, clutching the smouldering wound. Maul seized the moment. Using his fallen brother as a distraction, he lunged forward, his saber staff spinning. Dooku expected it. He dipped beneath the first strike, his free hand snapping up. A powerful force push exploded from his palm, catching Maul mid-air. The former Sith Lord slammed into a durasteel pillar, the impact leaving a deep dent. He collapsed to the ground, momentarily stunned. Dooku turned his gaze to Savage. The brute was already charging, pain fueling his rage. He swung his massive blade with the force of a battering ram. Dooku dodged. He moved with precision, his agility betraying his age. As Savage overextended his strike, the Count stepped in close. A single, calculated movement. Dooku's crimson blade pierced Savage's gut. Savage's yellow eyes went wide. A strangled breath escaped him. His saber slipped from his grasp as his towering form collapsed to his knees. Maul, still recovering, saw it happen. No! Dooku twisted the blade and pulled it free. Savage Opress fell. The light in his eyes flickered, then vanished. Maul's world shattered. Everything faded. The rage, the pain, the fear. All that remained was Maul and Dooku. The two Sith Lords stood amidst the carnage, the air thick with the scent of scorched flesh. Maul rose slowly, his eyes burning with something deeper than hatred. Dooku merely lifted his blade. And then they clashed. The chamber erupted in a symphony of destruction. Sparks erupted as their lightsabers met in a relentless exchange of speed and precision. Maul fought like a beast unleashed. His saber was a blur, every strike fueled by vengeance. But Dooku was a fortress. The Count did not waste any movement. He parried, redirected, stepped back, struck. He controlled the fight, waiting for the opening that he knew would come. He found it. Maul overextended. Dooku saw it in an instant. He sidestepped. His lightsaber twirled in his grasp. And then, with one swift motion, he severed Maul's right arm. Maul exploded in pain. He collapsed to one knee, clutching the smoking stump where his arm had once been. His lightsaber clattered to the ground. Dooku loomed over him, his face impassive. "You were always a blunt instrument," he said coldly. "A hammer, when the Sith require a blade." Maul's breaths came in ragged gasps. Dooku raised his lightsaber. Maul looked up at him, eyes filled with defiance. And then, for the second time in his life, Darth Maul was cut down. The crimson blade sliced through his chest, its glow reflecting in his fading yellow eyes. His body crumpled to the floor. This time, there would be no return. Darth Maul was dead. Count Dooku deactivated his lightsaber. The battle was over. He gazed down at the bodies of Maul and Savage, two warriors who had once held power, now reduced to lifeless husks. His expression did not change. Then, his comlink beeped. Dooku pressed it to his lips. "It is done." A deep voice answered. "Good." Sidious. Dooku hesitated. "Was this necessary, my lord?" he asked. "Maul could have been useful." Sidious chuckled. "Maul was a failure. You are my apprentice now, Tyrannus. Do not dwell on the past. We move forward." Dooku exhaled slowly. "As you wish, my master." He turned from the bodies, his cloak billowing as he strode away. The past was dead. The future belonged to the Sith. Drop the scenarios you would like to see in the comments, and I will pick one every week for Fan Friday. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.